A 21-year-old girl just walked onto a tennis court with nothing to lose, and by the time she walked off, a Grand Slam champion, a former world number one, and an entire sold-out stadium had to rewrite everything they thought they knew about her. And right now, as you're watching this, the story still isn't finished. There is an unfinished match sitting on a rain-soaked court in Washington, D.C. at this exact moment, a scoreline frozen in place, a champion still waiting to be decided, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how we got here, piece by piece, because if you leave before the end, you are going to miss the one detail that changes how you see this entire run. Before we go there, if you actually care about underdog stories, about players nobody saw coming, about moments in sports that don't get the attention they deserve until it's too late, do one thing for me right now. Hit subscribe. Not because I'm asking nicely, but because there are dozens of these stories happening every single month and most channels won't even notice them until they're old news. If you want to be early to the next one instead of finding out 3 days late, subscribe now, because this channel exists to catch these moments before the rest of the internet does. Now let's get into it. There is a ticket sitting in a drawer somewhere in Washington tonight. It could be a small piece of paper, or it could just be a QR code on somebody's phone. But whoever bought it weeks ago, back when the story of the 2026 Mubadala DC Open was supposed to belong to somebody else entirely. That ticket was priced against a plan. And that plan had names on it. Elina Svitolina, world number 10, a legitimate title contender on the women's side. Naomi Osaka, 4-time Grand Slam champion, one of the most recognizable athletes in the sport. Jessica Pegula, world number 3, a player who has quietly built one of the most consistent resumes on tour. And Leylah Fernandez, the defending champion, whose face was literally printed on the tournament's promotional material as the woman coming back to defend her title. What that ticket did not account for, what nobody's plan accounted for, was Alexandra Eala. She is 21 years old. She came into this tournament ranked 28th in the world. Unseeded. A career-high ranking she had only earned 18 days earlier. And in a 7,500-seat stadium built on asphalt and paint at the William H. G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center in Rock Creek Park, that unseeded, unmarketed, barely mentioned name became the reason the entire building sold out. To understand how big a shift that actually is, you have to understand how a tournament like this gets built in the first place. The DC Open is the 5th largest professional tennis event in the United States. Its chairman, Mark Ein, told local reporters in mid-July that the tournament was already about 97% sold out a full week before the gates even opened. 5 top 10 players. 4 Grand Slam champions. 4 former DC champions in the field. On paper, this tournament had already won before a single ball was hit. Alexandra Eala was not part of that marketing plan. She wasn't on the posters. She wasn't in the pre-tournament press releases. She arrived with a career-high ranking and a hard, flat backhand she had used just 5 weeks earlier to knock Svitolina out of a quarterfinal in Berlin. Same score, by the way. 6-3, 6-4. Keep that number in your head, because it's about to matter twice. Here's the part one want to be fair about, because there's no villain in this story. The DC Open did everything right. They built a field strong enough to sell out on its own merits. Ushers were briefed on where the big names would be. Broadcast schedules were built around expected quarterfinal matchups. Sponsors were told exactly which court their brand would appear on. Every part of this tournament's operation worked exactly as designed. What nobody designed for was a Filipino wildcard-adjacent run that no ticketing model in North America was built to price. That gap between the plan and what actually happened is the real story here. Not a mistake. Not a villain. Just a market that had to catch up to a player in real time. And it caught up fast. Standard and premier seats for the semifinals and the final sold out completely within days, confirmed by the tournament's own announcements and by Philippine sports outlets tracking the surge in demand. Nobody from the WTA needed to issue a statement about it. The ticket resale pages did the talking for them. So how did an unseeded 28th ranked player actually get here? There are 3 moments that matter, and I want to walk through them properly, because each one builds on the last. The first moment is the plan itself, the ceiling everyone expected. 97% sold out, Svitolina and Osaka as the headline names, Fernandez as the returning champion. Eala was, at best, a name in small print. The second moment is where things start to crack. Round 1, against Jing Qinwen. Eala dropped the first set. She fell into real trouble in the second before rallying to close it out. Local reporters covering the match that night described the crowd around her as the loudest the tournament had seen all week. That's not fan hype. That's a reporter, in the building, writing down what he saw in real time. That's the first hard evidence that something at Rock Creek Park was shifting. Round 2, she beat Fernandez, the defending champion, the face on the tournament's own marketing. One marquee name, gone. Then the quarter-final. Svitolina again. World number 10. And this is where the pattern turns into a signature. Eala won it 6-3, 6-4, breaking Svitolina's serve 4 times in the first set alone and closing out the second with a decisive break late in the match. That was her 6th win over a top 10 opponent in 2026. Her 3rd tour-level semi-final of the season. And the second time in 5 weeks she had beaten the exact same opponent by the exact same scoreline. Different city. Different surface. Identical fingerprint. That's not a hot streak. That's a matchup she has genuinely figured out. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because the semi-final wasn't the end of the story, it was the moment everything accelerated. Eala's semi-final opponent turned out to be Naomi Osaka herself, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, one of the biggest names in the sport, someone Eala had never faced before in her career. Betting markets had Osaka as the clear favorite going in. And Eala didn't just beat her. She dismantled her, 6-4, 6-2, in under an hour and a half, winning over 70% of her first serve points and handing Osaka a lopsided, one-sided defeat in front of a stadium that had sold out specifically because people wanted to see this exact matchup. Think about that for a second. A player who wasn't even on the tournament poster just eliminated a 4-time Grand Slam champion to reach her first ever WTA 500 final. That set up a final against Jessica Pegula, world number 3, a player who had already beaten Eala once before in a brutal 3-set battle at the Miami Open. This was Eala's chance to settle that score on a much bigger stage, with a WTA title on the line for the very first time in her career. And this is where the story takes the turn that makes it impossible to look away from right now. The final started late because of rain delays that pushed the start back several hours. When it finally began, Pegula came out sharp, taking the first set 6-4. Eala answered immediately, holding her opening service games to push ahead 2-1 in the second set. And then the rain came back. Thunderstorms rolled through Washington, lightning forced players off the court, and after more than 5 hours of waiting, tournament organizers made the call. The match was suspended. Not finished. Suspended. Frozen in place at 1 set to Pegula, with Eala serving and leading 2-1 in the second. That match resumes today, right now, as you're watching this, with everything still undecided. A rising, unseeded 21-year-old who has already knocked out a defending champion, a top 10 seed, and a 4-time Grand Slam champion, standing 1 set and a handful of games away from either completing one of the most unlikely title runs tennis has seen this year, or falling just short against a player who has already beaten her once before. And here's why this matters beyond just this one weekend. If Eala wins this final, she doesn't just get her first WTA title. She locks in a career-high ranking heading straight into the US Open Series, with a real chance to be seated at a Grand Slam for the first time in her career. Her 2026 alone already includes wins over Jasmine Paolini, Coco Gauff, Elena Rybakina, Iga Swiatek, and Svitolina twice. 6 wins over top 10 players in a single season. 3 semi-finals. And now, a final that's still being decided as we speak. There's also something bigger happening here that goes beyond the scoreline. The Philippines does not currently host a single ATP or WTA Tour level event. The only way that fanbase connects with the tour at this level is through moments exactly like this one, a player from a country the calendar doesn't visit, pulling a sold-out American stadium's demand curve in a direction nobody built for. That's not just a sports story anymore. That's a market shifting in real time because of one player. And none of this was guaranteed to happen. 3 weeks before Washington, Eala lost in the fourth round at Wimbledon to Jasmine Paolini, ending what had been the deepest Grand Slam run of her career. She flew straight from London to Washington with almost no time to reset. And in her very first match here, she nearly didn't make it past the first round at all, dropping a set and fighting through real trouble before finding her rhythm again. If 1 point had gone differently in that opening match, none of what came after happens. No win over the defending champion. No revenge win over Svitolina. No stunning upset over Osaka. No final against Pegula. This entire run has been living on a razor's edge the whole time, and it very nearly wasn't a story at all. So here's where we actually stand right now. A stadium that sold out completely for a semi-final nobody built the marketing plan around. A final suspended mid-match by rain, frozen at 1 set apiece in terms of momentum, with the outcome genuinely unknown. A 21-year-old, unseeded, ranked 28th in the world, 1 match away from her first career WTA title and a shot at being seeded at her first Grand Slam. Whatever happens when that match resumes, the seat she earned to get there is already real. Nobody handed it to her. If you want to know exactly how this final ends, and what it means for her heading into the US Open, that's the next video on this channel, and it's coming the moment the result is final. Subscribe now so you're not the last person to find out how this one actually ends, because based on everything you just watched, I don't think anyone should bet against her.